a bad connection, but we'll try this again. Um, so, hopefully we can get this thing working because I have a fun guest today. Hang on, we're telling people that you have. Hey, try it again. I don't know if maybe. Oh, I think I heard something from your end now.
The volume started working right at the end, right before you hit cancel.
Go figure. Oh,
Yeah.
well, we got to figure it out. Well, we're here finally on Instagram Live with Nathan Hanneman from Horrorhound. We're here to talk about Horrorhound. So there's a lot of people out there that aren't familiar with Horrorhound. I believe it or not. So I mean, I just kind of wanted to kind of dive into like kind of a quick, like history, like a little origin story, if you will, of where the idea came from and how it came about. Like,
Well, I used to work for a company called Tomart Publishing for about 7 years, where we did collector magazines and books. So we did a magazine called Action Figure Digest. I was actually the editor. And we did other books and worked for Disney stuff and Hot Wheels and Lucasfilm, bunch of IPs. And at one point, I convinced my boss to let me write a book about horror collectibles. So we did that in 2003. And I loved doing it so much, I started looking to find where else I could write about horror. I was writing for a short-lived magazine called 1313. And then finally, my, my cousin and we were discussing possibly starting a business together. And I literally said, let's do a magazine called Horrorhound. And I never thought about doing a magazine called Horrorhound before. I don't even use the word Horrorhound that often. It was just a weird thing to happen. So the next day I go on GoDaddy and I look to see, and is horrorhound.com available? And it said yes. I was like, purchase? And it's funny because I got an email from someone like a day later that that's back when you could actually contact the buyer or the owner of a website off GoDaddy. And this guy, apparently someone had been sitting on horrorhound.com for years, and he was on a wait list to buy it. And when he went to go purchase it, he got a notification it was available. And he went the next day to go buy it, and he said, I stole it out from under him.
wow.
And he offered me like a few $1,000s to buy it. And I remember I laughed. I replied to him and I said, no, I'm going to do a lot more with it than you will.
And you have.
I always wanted that guy to come up to me and say, I was that guy.
That'd be awesome. Got it.
But yeah, the whole idea was just to do a magazine on horror from a collector's standpoint. Fangoria at the time, I don't know, I don't really read any other horror magazines myself because I just don't want to inadvertently be influenced.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But at the time, Fango was a movie news magazine, and that was all they really were. And Rue Morgue, I liked Rue Morgue a lot, but they were more of a lifestyle magazine.
Yeah, a little more.
And I just didn't see, and also they were kind of like the basement, and this isn't derogatory or negative, they were kind of like the basement horror fans magazine, the people who want to wax poetic about Argento for 3 hours. That was more for them.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anyone doing a magazine that's just for us nerdy people that are buying all these McFarlane and NECA action figures and buying prop replicas and doing up their houses for Halloween and all that stuff. And I thought that there was a void there that we could do.
And you definitely, in my honest opinion, I would say you definitely have filled that because, I mean, Horrorhound's it's a very well-rounded magazine. I mean, because it's not, it covers, new films, past films, all the collector standpoints, like you said. I mean, it gives you a little bit of everything, and I think that's why, in my opinion, it's done so well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, if you go back and look at the first year, our movie news was always little blurbs because we had to include movie news. Or back then, bookstores had collectible sections.
Yeah,
there was a lot of collector magazines for everything, and if we didn't have movie news, they would have put us in a different section of the bookstore. So we had to include movie news, but we always kept it very minimal, and it's grown since. But since the pandemic, it's been really hard to keep our productions schedule on time because like our print house, issue 93, I think they sat on it for a month before they finally printed it. They're backed up. There's printing paper supply issues. And we just had this meeting a couple weeks ago. We're just going to have to pull back on movie news and start focusing more on what we started with, which is probably for the best, because like the issue that's at the printer right now waiting to get printed has the black phone in it.
No.
When we did that content, it was long before the movie was coming out.
I mean, the movie is coming out. I mean, it's going to be out on Blu-ray soon.
Right. It's just, yeah. Now we always used to fight the deadline issue of, well, it takes about 2 to 4 weeks for the magazine to go from our place to the store. Now we got to worry about 4 to 8 weeks.
That's rough from your point of view, because I mean, you guys are a bi-monthly magazine, and I mean, it's kind of, in a manner of speaking, kind of like every other, almost third month, it seems like these days.
And yeah, part of our plan to fix it is we're basically going to go monthly for about 6 to 8 issues. So that's the only way we can get up to, get caught back up. And it's I'm not looking forward to the workload of it, but taking away movie news, we'll still have movie news. Like we have Halloween Kills set for the next issue. We'd already done all of our interviews for Salem's Lot, and they just announced that movie was
pushed it back.
Yeah, so that stuff always burns. But yeah, we're like the next issue. I mean, this was already planned. It's on my screen over here. It's we did a NECA Toys retrospective. It was their 20th anniversary of when they first launched Real Toys. So I think it was a 12-page article. But we're going to do more stuff that's on collectors and more interviews with collectible companies, and that includes records and home video. A lot of these people, the home video market's becoming a collector market anymore because of streaming. People aren't buying physical media unless they have a reason to, and companies are coming up with, whether it's slip cases or steel books or throwing action figures in with it.
Yeah,
it's becoming a collector industry too.
Pretty much. I mean, because it seems like they've gotten really creative with it. I saw recently, I myself didn't buy it, but I saw with the new Fantastic Beasts movie, like at Walmart, you can get this, it's like Newt's briefcase. Mm-hmm. For the the Secrets of Dumbledore or whatever. It's like Newt's briefcase, and it comes with the Blu-ray and stuff. And even the Batman had a couple pretty cool exclusives.
And they've always done. If you go back to that very first issue of Horrorhound, we had an article about home video collector sets.
Yeah.
They've always done it, but it seems like most of the major studios have almost given up on releasing stuff. I think it's getting easier for boutique companies like Kino Lorber or Severin to secure rights to films that studios used to not give home video rights away to. But it's such an interesting time right now in the horror collector industry, because it's blown up. And I think it blew up because of the pandemic. Everyone stayed home and just started buying stuff, and that encouraged these companies to invest more into creating cool stuff.
Yeah, that's an issue. What happened a little bit on my end, because I had all this money saved up for Horrorhound Weekend, and then obviously literally a couple days before the show was, it literally could have waited another week. It would have been great.
We got, I feel bad for like Dave Hagen, the promoter of Monster Mania. His show was a week or two before us, and he had to go through 2 weeks of guest cancellation announcements. His guest list just tumbled, and he was getting destroyed online because no one understood what was really happening out there. We hadn't had any guest cancellations. I think maybe Virginia Madsen had to cancel due to work, which she does a lot. And but the day I got a heads up from someone from the city, because we have a lot of friends in the city and stuff, and they said, hey, I don't want to worry you, but there's talk of, the city shutting down the convention center. And my first instinct was get drunk. But as the day went on, I started getting phone calls from managers. Hey, Robert England's going to have to cancel. Hey, this person's going to have, it was one after another, and I was just like, don't worry about it. I think we're going to get shut down anyway. So I always kind of, I don't want to say joked, because I feel bad for Dave Hagen, but I thought he got tortured before he got killed, where we just got the gunshot to the back of the head,
Pretty much, so to speak. I mean, I was gonna go over to the convention center anyway and just stand there with like a picket sign or something, like open your doors or whatever, some stupid crap like that, because that was back before. No, I mean, we didn't have an understanding of what was going on. It was very new, and everybody was just upset and angry, and that's kind of how that situation was. So like it was hard for me in particularly, I'd say for us, because I think everyone at Horrorhound was feeling it. But I always kind of said we were the first in Ohio. The governor shut down all mass gatherings. I want to say, I'm probably wrong, but to me, I thought we were the first state to do it. That's how I felt at the time. So we were the first thing that was taken away from from people. They weren't forced to put on a mask yet. They weren't forced to get a vaccine. They weren't, forced to not go places. They weren't forced to do anything yet. We were one of the first things where they were told, you're not allowed doing this. Yeah, and I think to me that's how it was.
I feel like they took it out on us. Some people took it out on us a little bit harder than they should have, and it let up once the gravity of the situation kind of became a little bit more in perspective. But
yeah,
it was really hard to my there's a minute where I was like, I don't even want to come back and do this if this is how everyone's going to act.
Geesh. That's like, because it's one of those things where I was just angry, because it's like, you look forward to this something for 6 months of the year, and you're just like, and then out of nowhere it just swept out from under you for the first time in in Horrorhound's history that you've had to cancel an event that was out of your control.
And like you said, like 5 days before we're supposed to start, and we had hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up into it. So we weren't in a good spot, but it was, to circle back to what you were saying, it was kind of funny because I think everyone did have money saved for their summer and or their springs. And my gosh, the people that I know who work, from t-shirt companies, toy companies, people that started going to online models to make up for the conventions that weren't happening, they were making more money than they've made in years. And I'm watching, I'm like, you're making money during all this? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, that whole summer, because I was off of work for like three months. I was sitting at home, but I was getting paid to sit at home, I guess, is a way, but even still, it's just like, I don't know, that I'm just glad we've gotten back to obviously it's still not back to normal, but I mean, it's in as normal could probably be.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we have conventions again. We have, sporting events and stuff like that again. So, I mean, it's definitely calmed down a lot. But I just remember blowing a crap ton of money on just a bunch of stuff because I was just like,
And we had, when we started Horrorhound, the company I worked for, he gave me his blessing as long as we didn't cover collectibles news, because that's what his business was. I was still working at Tomar, and I was like, not an issue, we won't do it. And then essentially things came to a head, and he's like, you know what, upon second thought, pick one. I can't feel good with you being split 50-50 in your day to day. I was like, well, then I choose my thing, like,
yeah, obviously.
if you can't feel comfortable knowing that I care so much about the collector industry, there was no way I was ever going to give him a half-assed Nathan. And so for him to think it was ridiculous. So I quit and basically was working Horrorhound for no pay for years. And but when we first started doing toy news in the magazine, or collector news, whatever, collectibles, 2, 3, 4 pages, if we were lucky, I could easily fill 6, 8 pages every issue now. It's just insane. And I couldn't have said that 2, 3 years ago. I mean, it really, these companies blew up, and horror blew up. I mean, you just go to we've been joking a lot. Spirit Halloween. We went to Spirit yesterday. We've always done shows on my birthday weekend, which is September 9th.
Oh, yep.
And we've never been able to promote our show at Spirit stores because they were never open. And usually they open the weekend of our show. So we're just like laughing. We're like, they're doing such gangbuster business with Killer Clowns and Trick or Treat, Hocus Pocus, and everything.
Oh, yeah.
They have to open sooner. And their website business is probably 10 times stronger than it was in 2019,
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. So you can't even keep up with anything anymore. Everyone has horror is just insane.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Like, just like you said, the last couple of years, companies have just blown up with collectibles, like from NECA to Super Set to all, like, everything. I mean, but what's funny? What I feel like has been like kind of dialed back a lot is Funko.
I don't think they're dialed back. They've dove heavily into anime.
Yeah.
I feel like they're not making the stuff that's in our face like it was during the Walking Dead years.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like their production has slowed down a lot with like.
They're having supply chain issues. They just I just read that they canceled or delayed 50% of their Funko Ween announcements the next year just because they're not going to get them in time.
And they might not. Some of them might not even come out until like 2023, 24 almost.
If they're smart, some of those lines, like the Halloween Disney pops, they're not going to work unless they get released in September, October.
Yeah, because they could, but they're going to work best during the Halloween season, of course. Yeah, it's amazing just to see all the stuff that they made. I mean, crap, who would have thunk in like 2000 something that they would have made this? I mean, it's one of my favorite pieces, but it's just crazy to see the stuff that they've come up with, and they made such good, quality stuff.
We were looking at pictures. Some of our store didn't have any of the new Killer Clown stuff. So we were looking online at some of the stuff that they're the cool packaging and whatnot, that some of the spirits already have this stuff. And my wife, we were just kind of joking. She goes, you go back 10 years, 20 years and tell me that one day a major retail chain is going to have cotton candy guns from Killer Clowns available at retail. No.
Yeah. They even have the stinking Holly Ho bar from stinking Trick or Treat now, but it's a prop. But I mean, it's got a thing where you can take the cap off, and it's like the blade.
But that was the we started doing the conventions and stuff, and I always have fun with them. But that was, we knew that Spirit was tripling down on Hocus Pocus, with Hocus Pocus 2 coming out, and with Trick or Treat, and with Killer Clowns this year. That actually dictated like what we wanted to do with our convention in September. Was just because it's everyone's going into these stores, and that's what they're seeing everywhere.
Yeah, and that they're just kind of gravitating to, like, you know, Killer Clowns and Trick or Treat.
It just seems smart to go in line with what everyone in the world's doing, you know? Like, it's just so popular right now, and I want to encourage it, because I want more of it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not a huge Killer Clowns fan, and I just, where all this popularity just suddenly came from, like these. I think that's just something I don't understand myself.
I have stories and theories.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's definitely a fun movie. Like, it's just not. I've only watched it maybe once or twice. It's one of those things I have to, like, probably be in the mood to watch, I think.
I think the fandom was always there. I remember always been good friends with this fella named Jerry Macaluso, who he had launched Soda Toys back in the day. And he did the first ever Killer Clown action figure in his toy line called Now Playing. And we're on the phone one day, and he tells me, he's like, dude, Killer Clown figure is so popular at Spencer's. And, you know, Spencer's is owned by Spirit. And he's like, they requested an entire toy line of Killer Clowns. It's like, awesome. That's amazing. So unfortunately, he ended up selling the company before he could get to that point. And then the new owners never followed through. And then it was right around that time that they started finally getting production done, that Spencer's stopped selling toys altogether, that's another story. But even back then, that clown did so well, you know, back then for Soda, that Spirit wanted, or Spencer's wanted more, and no one would touch the line. And I think it was if I remember correctly, it was 3-4 years ago, Halloween Horror Nights in Florida did a Killer Clowns house, but not both. It was just in Florida, and it did so well that the next year they committed to both cities. Mm-hmm. And not only did they commit, they merchandised the hell out of it. I have everything from I have 2 different glasses. They did an action figure, a pin. They did cotton candy. They did candy bars. And I feel like Spirit saw that. Someone that was involved in Spirit. I think that's what led to this. Just that realization, like, oh, this is merchandisable. It can be a winner. So I really think it was Universal Studios doing that haunt that really
triggered
lit that firework. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's initially everywhere. It seems like I see a whole lot of Killer Clowns stuff.
I love it.
And I think it's triggering me to kind of want to watch it again, because like I said, it wasn't my cup of tea, but it's just like,
if you see me looking back behind, I have Killer Clowns all over, you know, all the way up to like the top of my shelves up there. If I can angle it, it's just Killer Clowns have always, everywhere. And it's one of those things too, where I actually have the original proof sheet from the VHS from Media Home Entertainment. Wow. And the guy who was a friend of mine who was doing the home video bonus features for the DVD back in the day, he was raiding their archives, and he found that, and they gave it to him, and he gave it to me because he knew how much the movie meant to me. So I've been a big fan for a long time. So this is like
perfect time for you.
Yeah, almost like Christmas for me.
Yeah, that's like it. Well, it's like if Halloween never, like, you know, got huge, like out of nowhere, Halloween's got this huge line of toys coming out or something. It'd be like that, I would imagine.
It feels like that happened too. Everyone's doing.
I got a buddy. He's like, I walked into his house and he has like, I don't know if it's an animatronic, but it's one of the statues of the killer clowns. Like I walked into his house and I just looked, and it's just like right there.
Oh, yeah. People are scared of clowns. It's hilarious to me.
I just threw it like because his house is like, oh, it's awesome. I walked in, he's got posters everywhere. He's got like he's got his TV, and he's got two like stands with nothing but like, he's got a whole trick or treat area, and then like Freddy and stuff, and then he has one of those huge skeletons that you can get at Home Depot, but
Mm-hmm.
he's got the head inside on the floor. He took it off. I'm like, because I went over to his house and I saw it just like kind of in the background. I'm like, where's its head at? He's like, oh, you'll see it. I want one of those things, but man, as soon as they like, become available, they're sold out.
I wouldn't know where to store
it. Yeah, it's definitely one of those people that like have big yards.
It would stay in my yard year round. That's where I would store
Yeah.
it. And then my neighbors would get mad.
Probably because you like live like within like the city, like in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, pretty much in Cincinnati.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the convention itself, like how like the idea of, from going from a magazine to launching a full-fledged like convention to celebrate like the.
Yeah, it was funny. I got approached by a guy once, and he says, have you ever thought about doing a convention? I'm like, sorry. Because we did a 5-year plan, and we knew Fangoria had a Weekend of Horrors. I don't know if Rue Morgue was doing they started doing an event with Fan Expo that it may have been after us. I can't recall. But Famous Monsters had their convention back in the day. So we always knew we wanted to do conventions. We were big fans of, we went to Cinema Wasteland every year. So it was just one of those things where the timing was right. And we just tested it and did it really well for our first time convention, and kind of learned the ropes after a while. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And, in fact, our convention center in Cincinnati, who people say we outgrew, is in the process of doing a remodel. They're adding 25,000 square feet of ballroom space, and one of the main reasons is they know we can't stay there if they don't grow. And that's one of the more surreal points, is when a convention center asks you to go downtown and have a meeting with the city to discuss why they need to expand, or we're going to leave Cincinnati. And it's just like, you guys care that much about a horror convention? It's just fun.
That's remarkable, because it's like, I think I've asked you that before. Like, do you think you'll ever have to leave Sharonville? And
it's been in the works for a long time. In fact, they were going to break ground in April of 2020, like literally a week after the show that got canceled. They were going to break ground. And because everything got stopped, they just put a pause on it. So they didn't break ground until this past April. So it really sucks, because the pandemic didn't just screw us up. It stopped that convention center from expanding. The last 2 shows we did, especially that last show we did in March, it was so crowded. And that people were just like, you guys need to move. And I'm like, they're breaking ground in a week. We've had this plan in motion for so long. There's no way we're moving yet. Just hold tight. Stay with us.
it was I think that's the busiest I've seen it since probably the last time Norman Reedus was there.
No, it was busier.
It was definitely a lot busier for we're talking about this past March.
Yeah, it was funny. We had people complain afterwards. They're like, the fire marshal was there all weekend giving you guys crap, and we're like, no. We had the fire department was. We had pre-con meetings. The fire department was so excited about the show being back that we comped all the fire the fire station. We comped everyone for tickets, so they were just showing up in their fire trucks and
So
walking
that's why
around and
everybody's like,
checking
"What's
out the
going on?"
convention. People were like, "Oh, the fire truck's here! It's shit's hitting the fan!" I'm like, "Oh, they're getting autographs from Matthew Lillard."
Yeah, they're there to have fun. They're not there. They're not working.
They were so excited to see the place packed like that.
Oh man,
everyone was. The city
it
had not had an event like that at that center in over 2 years.
I think, well, honestly, you're probably not probably. You guys are the biggest event that's held there. I mean, you're not going to have some rock con. What do they have? Like they have what like
They have some show. It's like a mystic. It's like a psychic event. That's popular.
yeah.
Everyone really likes that. But
There's like some type of gun con. They have like air
yeah,
firearms and crap. It's like
gun and knife show. That's been there for like 20, 30, 40 years. I don't forget how it's been there since I was a kid.
yeah.
Back when we first went into Cincinnati, the convention center was half the size it is now. And we chose the hotel. We chose where we put on the show based on the fact that we had inside information that the center was going to expand. And if we could grow and jump across the street, like we've always had a plan of like where we're going to go next. So that was always that center's always been the centerpiece of those plans. And it's kind of exciting to have seen them grow the way they have. And, you know, the next step is a parking garage, hopefully.
Oh wow. Yeah, I could imagine because I feel like parking for this convention coming up in a couple weeks is going to be a little hectic.
Yeah, we actually, the city is preparing parking information packets that we can post on social media to help everyone out. Like it's getting to that point, and it's the bigger issue because of the construction. But they've been buying up property around this around the street, so they'll
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because there's a lot of I'm sure there'll still be plenty of parking at the convention center. Just some of it's going to be taken up by construction.
Right. Yeah. When you see the construction going on, you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, this place is going to be massive."
Yeah, it's already. I mean, the place is already massive, but to add more to it, like I said, that was my first ever convention. I think it was 2014 was the first time I ever came to Horrorhound. That was my first ever convention. So ever since then, it's like every time I get to come to that place, it's just like it kind of holds a special place here, just because it's just, you know, it's definitely it's a special place in general, I guess I could say, just because.
When we did the first show in Cincinnati, I think it was in 2009. Me and my wife actually got married at that hotel, the hotel across the street. We got married at that convention.
What was it called that back then?
Dude, that was the craziest part. That hotel's always been so crazy. I think it was a Sheraton, and then the week before our show, they changed their name to a Ramada.
Yeah,
which was like, my head almost exploded because we've got advertising and promotion all over the city saying at the Sheraton.
Yeah.
And now the Sheraton's not even going to be there. It's a different hotel, so everyone could be confused. But then I have my family who are coming, and they have all the wedding invitations that say the Sheraton, and they're going to be even more confused. The fans will figure it out, but my family, I was having a panic attack that day.
Yeah, that was a Xanax day. Yeah, I could imagine. So, yeah, because it just seems like since I've been going to the convention that hotel's changed names like every other year almost. But now it seems, I feel like it's gonna stay.
Oh yeah,
that place is nice now.
The family that bought it, they've been working on acquiring it for years. Then they get it. In fact, they did all the remodel, multi-million-dollar remodel. They were rushing to get it finished for our show in 2020. So they spent millions of dollars to redo that entire hotel. We're their first event out of the gate, and we get canceled.
Yeah, and they're just like, son of a bitch.
They were rush ordering furniture. It was comical, honestly. I should I
That
should I should have been writing this stuff down in a diary so I could write a book one day.
you should. What happened when the pandemic happened?
Just there's a number of fun stories, even that wedding thing and having the name change. It's just there's always fun stuff that happens, and it's not fun at the time, but in
Yeah,
retrospect,
of course
you
not.
get a good laugh at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't like I remember seeing it for the first time after the remodel happened. Like they like completely added to the tower even.
Oh, it's not. Man, I don't know when it's going to be ready, but they're eventually opening a rooftop bar like
Oh
that.
wow.
Like the elevator goes to like the 14th floor, but it's the new elevator is built to go to the roof
The
for the rooftop bar. So I mean, it's fancy. That whole
it's
area.
yeah. I love the little courtyard they have out there. That's
Mhm.
really nice when you guys because initially you guys were gonna do a like a like a kind of like a drive-in theater type thing, but the wind kind of fucked it all up. But it still worked out. It still worked out because I mean, you know, you had Team Void played, and I think people dug that, and
Oh, you actually just reminded me. We were discussing doing our after hour event out there this show, but waiting to the last minute to make sure the weather was going to be okay.
yeah, because you never know in September.
Yeah. Um, Man, I don't know if I want to commit to that.
Yeah,
But
giving you ideas.
we the show's September 9th through the 11th, Cincinnati. But what we haven't announced yet is like some of the performers. We for this show we just wanted to we felt like bringing in some of our favorite people we've had in the past. It's been a long time since we've seen some of them, but we have Clownvis is going to kind of open an MC. If you know Clownvis Presley, he's you really should watch his show. It's called Clownvis to the Rescue. But but we're bringing Harley Poe's coming back for the first time.
Oh, really?
It's been over 5 years since they played Cincinnati.
That's exciting.
And people like them. They're on tour right now, killing it. And we got really lucky. They're actually show.
Yeah, they I know for a while there because I talked to Joe for like a minute and asked. I think at one point I asked him if he was ever going to come back to Horrorhound, and at the time he said no. But that could have been that was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, they played Horrorhound pretty regularly. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you guys were. I mean, you guys back when you had the Horrorhound records. I mean, they were on that.
Right, and because of that, we were doing concert events with them almost weekly.
Almost every convention.
So I think there was a burnout period. I think maybe on his end. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. I got to plug my phone in.
It's gonna die. But yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting.
But yeah, we reached out to him. We're like, hey, you want to come back finally? And he's like, F yeah.
He seems like he's in a better place. Like, because I know for a while there, like it kind of like some of the records that were coming out, some of the records that he was putting out were like really negative. And I was like, man, he's not in a good place right now. A little shit.
Yeah, again, I know a little bit more. Sorry.
It's okay.
I know a little bit more. It's not my place to discuss, but you can hear it in the music. He was going through some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's good to see that, you know, they're back to playing regularly and that they're coming back. I mean, I didn't even, obviously this is the first time hearing of it. So that's exciting.
You're the first. No one else has been told.
And then, so that's the Saturday night, what's that called? Night Terrors?
Night Terrors.
The Night Terrors ain't your phone. Phone's got a mind of its own.
It's got the thing stuck in it now, so it doesn't want to stand.
Oh.
I didn't think about charging it. I thought we were going to be able to do this on a computer.
Well, I didn't really voice like what all would it would be entailing, I guess. So that's a little bit on my end.
Nah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, I love Harley Poe's one of my favorite bands to watch live. He
There's
brings
such,
the energy.
yeah. I myself have not seen them live, so
Oh,
I'll be, yeah.
I we we were introduced to him, God, 7 years ago. Let's just say 7 years. My wife was given one of their CDs, the State and Sex and No Regrets, and
Such a good album.
she, she played it constantly. So I knew the songs, but I never really dug into it. I was just like, she's like, I want them to play the show. And I'm like, okay. So they played the show, and I'm in the crowd watching them. And it was there's a difference between hearing it and then seeing it. You know, it was just
Absolutely.
the energy he brought. I just thought is like one of those things where you felt like he was singing to you, you know?
Yeah, and I know what you mean. Like you just kind of you feel it differently when you like there's just a certain way people sing that just or perform that just kind of resonates differently.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about that. But we have a lot of announcements still to make.
Oh yeah, I mean, you still have a good month until the show, and I can't
5 weeks. Don't cut me a week. Yeah, 5 weeks.
Well, I say that because it's like today's the 7th, and I mean it's basically a month.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say, hey, you only got a month left. Probably get on the ball. But here you are talking to me though.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, the show was so crowded in March because that was majorly a lot of the ticket holders that held on to their tickets from 2020.
From the 20 show, yeah.
Yeah,
There's still people.
There was no way. There was no way for us to know if they're coming or not. You know?
Yeah, I could get that.
If I sell a ticket today, I can pretty much guarantee that ticket's going to someone who's coming to the show in September.
Yeah.
But for that instance, we had no clue. So we limited our ticket sales when we did our first show back in September because we knew all those outstanding tickets. And not a lot of people used the outstanding tickets. And so the show was a little lighter. Which was nice because at that point, I think the Delta variant just started kicking in. And that may have been why less people showed up. I think, especially the week before the show, I think people got a little nervous. It's the first convention back. Oh, I don't know.
It was still a good turnout, but it was just not,
Yeah, it wasn't the crazy psycho crowd I thought we were going to get. And then when we were leaning into March, my partner and a lot of the people that work for us, they're like, I wanted to do the same thing. Let's limit ticket sales. We don't want to, go crazy. And they're like, we allowed you to do that last time. We're not making assumptions anymore. I'm like, all right, fine. Let's see what happens. And then we told the city, and the city was like, sell tickets, man. Let's just, we'll handle it. But man, everyone used those tickets.
Yeah, you could tell that there was just a crap ton more people there.
So yeah, for this show, I'm not, I don't know what to expect. Yeah, we don't have all those outstanding tickets, so I think. And my phone just said,
"Yeah." Well, I mean, I'd say it's going to be a pretty good turnout, because you got quite the reunion lineups. I mean, people love Hocus Pocus. People love, The Thing. People love Killer Clowns, obviously. I feel like that's going to be a pretty solid. I think there's going to be a pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you know me, I'm always. I like to be careful. I like to be very conscientious about everything, and that was why we limited tickets in our first show back, and why I wanted to last show. But at the same time, now that I've seen the numbers, I'm like, okay, well, we know what the center can hold without breaking. We know our staff rock. We know everyone's just baller. So, for this one, I was like, you know what? I'm going back to old school. I want to go do some interviews, do some podcasts, get on the radio, do ticket giveaways, go back to old school. Because that's the other thing. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't, like you said at the very beginning, that don't know Horrorhound. We live in the city, where we put on the show every single year, and I once got my mailman ask me, "What's Horrorhound?" Because a box showed up, and I told him, I'm like, "Oh, we do conventions, magazines, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Oh, on the side, I'm a ghost hunter," and I'm like,
"This isn't a side gig."
Well, no, this guy should have known. You're a ghost hunter, and we're a horror hound. Like he lost his mind. But I remember
That's crazy.
When we had Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I had a Negan shirt that I had on, and I was at I think I was at Staples or something like that, and this young girl working there says, "I love your shirt," and I said, "Thanks," and she goes, "I take it you're a big fan of Walking Dead." I said, "I am," and she goes, "Oh, it's my favorite show ever." And I said, "Were you at Horrorhound Weekend and this past weekend or last week?" And she goes, "No, what's that?" And I was like, it's literally 5 miles down the road. You didn't know about it?" And she goes, "No." And I said, "We had Jeffrey Dean Morgan was at the show," and she started crying right in front of me.
Oh my gosh.
She missed it. And she had made some comment like, why don't you guys promote more? And I said, "We sold out of tickets." It's hard to argue with someone, like I feel bad she didn't know about the show. But for this show, like my wife made a point. She's like, "I really think you need to get out there and promote and hopefully get people who don't know Horrorhound, because we are doing something that's not been done, hocus pocus,
Yeah, that's something
and that may not be in the wheelhouse of our regular customers." So I agreed with her. I was like, "Yeah, I think it's the largest hocus pocus reunion ever put on. We, in fact, still have more people from Hocus Pocus coming."
Mhm. Mhm.
Here,
I know of one.
maybe I can give you a scoop here.
I mean, I think I know of one.
You don't know this one. Here, I don't want to botch the name.
Botch it.
Okay. Here we go. So
Exclusive.
The one I think that is I'm holding on to for a minute because I got something special with Amanda Shepard, and that's not like people think I'm about to say Bette Midler. Amanda Shepard, she played Emily Binks in the movie.
Oh, okay. She played the sister.
Yeah, and she's never done a show before, and I was laughing so hard because I was like, "This is so cool." Spirit, when we went yesterday, they had this really cool statue of Binks the cat, and he's sitting on the grave of Emily Binks, and I was like, "That is the perfect thing to buy to get Amanda and and get is it
Jason
Marsden to sign. It's just, there's so many cool things. I was walking around Spirit going, "Man, I feel like I got to make a post saying, hey, everyone, go to Spirit and buy the Billy Butcherson tombstone and get Doug Jones to sign it." Like, it just give people ideas of what they can get signed. Some of the cool stuff.
Yeah, I definitely. Is that in Coleraine, the one that opened?
Yeah, and Eastgate opened also.
Okay. It's funny. Like I'm always, I go to the Cincinnati area, but I've never actually been over in the Eastgate area.
They have Jungle Gyms.
Yeah, that's the one I've never been to. I've been to the obviously I've been to Fairfields. I've never been to the
Fairfields is the superior one. It's the original.
Yeah, that's why and it's closer to me. I feel like Eastgate's a little further from me because it's like, like I said, I've never been in the Eastgate area. I've always only kind of stayed to the Cincinnati
proper.
Yeah. And then the Tri-County area, obviously, and then I used to go. It's funny. The first time I ever heard about Horrorhound, I was actually in Florence. I was at the Florence Mall, and because I had never heard of it. It's like I'm from Milan, Indiana originally. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm not that far from Cincinnati, and I think the guy was wearing the like a polo shirt. It was a Halloween polo shirt, and I said, "Hey, that's a cool shirt. Where'd you get that?" And it's like it's kind of an instance like where you were talking to that girl about. Well, I got like talking about Horrorhound. I said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "Oh, it's this convention that takes place in Cincinnati." And I looked up on it, and I'm like, "What?" Like, and then
we
that's like,
when we were leaving Spirits, this family stopped us and said, "I really like your Horrorhound shirt, man. I have custom Horrorhound shirts made. Um, in fact, I think the one I'm wearing right now is custom." Uh, and I said thanks. And you always have that thing where you're like, "Are you going to the show?" I didn't do it this time because I'm at Spirit on the day they open, and they have a shopping cart full of stuff. And they want to comment on the Horrorhound shirt. They knew exactly what it was, and I was like, "They're gonna be there."
yeah, they're gonna be there. Especially if they had a bunch of like Hocus Pocus stuff. It's like, oh yeah, they're probably gonna be there.
Yeah,
I have a Horrorhound shirt on.
I remember when we were coming up with that one. I drew it myself. It was supposed to be the design myself, and I sent it to Jeff Rebner, who is like kind of a. I always throw ideas off at him, and he's like, "Cool, I like it. Here, I redid it." And he sent it back. I was like, "Well, I guess he's doing the shirt this time."
Because you did the one in September, the one recently, the one that has the Horrorhound with the jack-o'-lantern pail.
Oh, I did do that one.
Your initials are even in the artwork. I found them.
Did I? I don't normally sign my artwork. That's funny.
Yeah, because I remember I was at Target and I was just looking at my shirt one day, just looking at it. I'm like, wait a second, and I found NH, and I'm like, and I think I sent it to you even. I said, I like how you like slid your initials in there.
Yeah, I did. Let me
Did
see
you do
here.
the Art the Did you do the Art the Clown one back in March?
No, that was the fun. That was a funny one. Jeff Rebner saw that Art the Clown was coming to the show, and he immediately drew that and sent it to me. And he says, "Here, I don't care. I don't care what you use it for. Just I wanted to draw this."
And it
And I
was
was like,
beautiful.
"Yeah." And I didn't know what we were going to use it for. And as we got closer to the show, I was like, it's the event shirt."
So I'm curious of what the event shirt could be for this one because it's kind of up in the air of what it could be.
Yeah, we going in full tiki on this one. We had
Oh, I
Horrorhound,
think you told me.
yeah, we had the Horrorhound tiki mug that's supposed to hit the show, and then so we decided that a bunch of the accents and other things that we do with the show are all going to be tiki themed. So Jeff actually drew a really badass shrunken Horrorhound head.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all the badges are going to be tiki related. The staff shirts are all tiki related. Um,
Could be a giant
it's
tiki bar.
interesting when we go non-movie route, kind of like the last shirt you mentioned that I did was
Yeah, the September show where it
the
was just
pumpkin.
didn't really have a theme. It was just kind of Horror Hound meets, it was just kind of him.
Yes, and sometimes the it's hard to come up with stuff because we've done like Jeff wanted to. He's like, "You want me to do an event shirt?" And I was like, "Well, we're going to use the shrunken head." And he's like, "I really wanted to do a Thing Horror Hound for John Carpenter's A Thing." And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I already did one for the 2020 show that got canceled."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh." So
So
he was, yeah, he was bummed. And I like that shirt. That was
I
a good
love that shirt. I still wear it. I'm like, it's the convention that never was.
one. What was really funny, I was farting around with a design where I just did a horror hound with a popcorn bucket and a soda in his hand.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a shirt for while we were not doing live events, we were doing these little virtual events, and we did a shirt for one of them, and no one bought it.
I don't even think I
Some,
bought it.
Yeah. Well, online, no one bought it, and I was like, we were bummed, but we had all these shirts sitting there that we had, we had to sell, so we brought it to the show, and they sold out that first show back. They were just like, boom. And at the end,
Uh-oh. You're loading. We may have lost him. I hope not. Hopefully it loads. Maybe he had a connection problem. Or maybe I have a connection problem. Oh no! Well, barnacles. Well, crabs. I think we'll have to leave it at that for now. Maybe we'll try to do something here in the next little bit to try to like make up some time. He's messaging me on Facebook right now. Oh, the stress killed it. No, I mean, we covered a lot. So if anything, we may try to come back on here later and catch back up from where we were. But I think his phone might have died. So, but I want to thank Nathan for his time so if you're coming to Horrorhound, it's September 9th through 11th. It's at the Sharonville Convention Center as always. Be mindful that the Sharonville Convention Center is under construction there, so there will be a lot of construction work going on. They're expanding. So be sure to be mindful when it comes to parking. There will be parking areas, so don't blow a gasket trying to, you'll find a parking spot. They promise, I promise. I don't work for Horrorhound, but I can say that you will find a parking spot. There is plenty air in the area. But anyway, I need to get off here because I've got other things to do. And so I want to thank everybody who joined, watched. Like I said, we weren't quite finished, but I think his phone died. So we'll try to maybe pick back up at a later date, maybe make it a part 2. I don't know yet. So, but we'll go from there. And but for now, again, tickets are still on sale for Horrorhound Weekend. VIPs are completely sold out. Weekend passes are still available. And I mean, you have a month. I mean, there's still plenty of time to get a ticket. Lots of great reunions, lots of events, as Nathan shared. And other than that, so just go to horrorhoundweekend.com. And that's all I've got today. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Sunday. And I will see you guys.